Okay, we're going to get going. Roll call.
Commissioner Burke. Commissioner Burke. Commissioner Dunn.
Here.
Commissioner Arp.
Here.
Commissioner Gilmetti. Commissioner Guardino. Commissioner Inman.
Here.
Commissioner Kehoe.
Here.
Commissioner Madaffer.
Here.
Commissioner Tavaloni.
Here.
Chair Alvarado.
Yes.
We have a quorum.
Thank you very much. Okay, we're going to start this morning with item 52. Mike. On the,
Mike.
We're going to start with item 52 on the consent calendar.
Yes, Commissioners. Item 52 was pulled from the consent calendar yesterday because we did not have 8 commissioners present. We will be doing this item now. This item is resolutions of necessity. Resolution number C21474 is withdrawn. That leaves only one resolution, and staff recommends that you approve this resolution of necessity.
Motion by Gilmetti, second by Madaffer. Do we need a roll call on this one? Just as the majority? Okay. No questions? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. Item 62.
So item 62 is an information item. The North Coast Corridor project covers 27 miles along the I-5 in San Diego County. The project includes express lanes, railroad, bike, and pedestrian components, along with coastal access and habitat improvements. And we have Alan Kossup and Gary Gallegos here to present on the project.
So good morning, Commissioners. My name is Jose Nuncio, and I'm here on behalf of Gary Gallegos from San Diego Association of Governments. I want to thank you for the opportunity to introduce this item this morning. What you're about to see represents a more holistic approach to implementing large, complex, multimodal transportation corridors. In a word, it's about the power of partnerships, in this case between SANDAG, Caltrans, the cities along the coastal corridor, resource agencies, conservancy groups, the legislature, the Coastal Commission, and this commission. These partnerships were brought together by the certainty of a framework founded on by Senator Kehoe's bill, SB 468. So thank you, Commissioner, for that. Besides facilitating completion, the partnerships and framework bring about significant project enhancements and resource protection. I hope you find the concepts in this presentation valuable as the transportation community works to complete complex projects in other parts of the state. With that, I would like to introduce Lori Berman, District 11 Director.
Good morning, Commissioners. I'm really happy here today to present this item on the North Coast Corridor. And before we get too far, I want to clarify, it's San Diego's North Coast Corridor, not California's. And this is a project we're really proud of. As one of only 2 north-south transportation corridors in San Diego County, the San Diego North Coast Corridor is the backbone of the San Diego transportation system. This 27-mile-long coastal corridor is seen as the gateway to San Diego and serves over 700,000 customers a day. The corridor includes both Interstate 5 and the Lausanne Rail Line and serves a wide variety of customers and destinations, including goods movement, major universities, Camp Pendleton, business hubs, high-tech job centers, tourists, and beachgoers. Transportation capacity is constrained on both Lausanne, where 50% of the corridor is single-track, limiting the reliability and ability to add more services, and I-5, where congestion is typical throughout the day, including Saturday and Sunday. In fact, certain areas of the corridor have higher ADTs on weekends than during the weekday. Historically, improvements to the transportation system were planned and delivered in a piecemealed mode-specific manner. The project we are bringing you today highlights a different, more holistic approach that looks at the corridor as a multimodal, multi-agency system integrated with the coastal resources in the corridor. We believe that this approach resulted in a better project not only for the transportation system, but also for the coastal resources. This approach could only have been possible through the partnerships of key stakeholders, as Jose mentioned, and Jose mentioned all of the key stakeholders, but I want to really reiterate that the partnership between Sandag and Caltrans is what makes projects like this possible. I'm going to introduce Alan Kossop next. He's actually a Caltrans employee, but he works for both Sandag and Caltrans, and this is a project that Caltrans could not have done on its own, and Sandag could not have done on its own. So now I'm going to introduce our corridor director, Alan Kossop, and he's the one who's actually making it all happen.
Good morning, Commissioners. This slide is one of 6 lagoon crossings that are in the corridor and really highlights the opportunity and the challenge of improving this transportation corridor. In the forefront, you see Interstate 5. Towards the back, towards the beach there, you see the rail line. And you see how these transportation facilities have really impacted how the lagoon worked over time. When we built those facilities, we were cheap on fill, expensive bridge, and we tend to minimize the bridge length, and really we're not sensitive to how the lagoon was going to operate after we left. You also see how from an active transportation standpoint, it's hard to get across the lagoon and connect the cities. It's also hard to go east-west. And so you begin to see some of the challenges there beyond just improving the freeway and improving the rail. So as we started off on this planning process, as Lori mentioned, they were independent projects, improving the rail, improving the highway. And we went out, started talking with stakeholders, and some of the things we heard was, we're kind of tired of your standard SOV highway. We want some new choice out in this corridor. But we're also very concerned about, again, a piecemealing approach. And from the resource agencies, they didn't want to deal with us coming on this lagoon and then the rail people coming and then bike people coming and really resulting in a patchwork mitigation program and really sacrificing the lagoon's long-term health. And we also heard from the Coastal Commission that in order to build projects in coastal wetlands, really the bar to get the project permitted was a net benefit to the coastal resources, not just a mitigation, but the law requires that it's a benefit. So with that in hand, and the idea that we probably, if we continued down this road of independent projects, we were going to get a lot of pushback from the locals, a lot of pushback from the stakeholders, and both projects would suffer. And so we moved forward and sort of backed up, and using the department's corridor system management plans, the CSMPs, put together a holistic transportation integrated plan with active transportation, rail, and highway, put that together. And what we found with that was some opportunities that we really didn't foresee before we had done that. And by bringing them together, there were these synergy opportunities that we could actually improve the transportation system and improve the coastal resources. We began to find commonality in our agency's missions that were not apparent at first. And a good example is from the Coastal Commission standpoint, improving coastal access is a prime principle of the Act. And coastal access requires a multimodal transportation system. So we found, commonality and reasons for both of us to pursue this project. So that was kind of a major breakthrough for us, but we still didn't have a framework to, we put all this together and we ended up with $6 billion of improvements in a 27-mile long corridor. There are reasons why you don't plan things holistically, because at some point they get so large they're difficult to manage and difficult to permit. It was going to be the largest coastal permit the Commission's ever seen. We didn't have ways to provide stakeholders assurances that once we started, we would finish in a balanced approach. And so, as Jose mentioned, thanks to Senator Kehoe, she stepped in and brought us SB 468, which provided that framework to move the project forward. The result of that was a planning document we refer to, a long-range planning document, which we refer to as the Public Works Plan. It is also, what's unique about it, it's not only a planning document, but it's a permitting document. It permitted the entire $6 billion worth of projects in one fell swoop. Essentially, that streamlined the process to go from 80 individual permits that we would have brought the Commission into one action. And that's what they needed to see in order to feel the assurances that there was, consistency and there were a commitment to finish what we started. As I said, this is $6 billion. It includes 4 express lanes on Interstate 5. It includes finishing the double track in the corridor. It includes about $250 million of coastal resource enhancements, and it includes a number of active transportation improvements, such as a brand new 27-mile long bike path that goes north-south along the corridor. We'll show some examples of that. That Public Works Plan in 2011 was adopted, or in 2014 was adopted by the Commission unanimously, the first time we brought it to them. We consider that a major accomplishment. And so that allowed us to move into actually building stuff and delivering projects. And so Phase 1 is a $700 million chunk of that $6 billion program that we're now ready to move forward into construction. And what's in there is 14 miles of carpool lanes, 1 lane in each direction, reconstructing bridges on both Interstate 5 and the rail line to improve coastal flushing, 3 miles of double track, a lagoon restoration project to dig out sedimentation and restore that lagoon. And we're going to do that under one contractor via the CMGC pilot program. Number of advantages for using that pilot in this case. And this is just kind of zooming into the first piece of Phase 1, which is the vote for the STIP funds. This is what's included in that project, just one piece of the $700 million. You see in the upper right-hand corner, that's what the Lagoon Bridge looks like today. That's Interstate 5, that's the San Alejo Bridge. And you can see it's about double the length of the old bridge. That's what we're building. This is an opportunity by themselves, the Lagoon Foundation could never have removed this bottleneck from their lagoon, but only working together could we have done that. As long as we're building a brand new bridge on I-5, we're actually going to build a new bike pedestrian bridge underneath I-5, so now that people can go north-south across the lagoon. We have a number of large retaining walls on the approaches. Normally they would be a monolithic, sort of 30, 40 foot high tall wall. We've split the wall and put a bike path in the middle of the wall to add additional connectivity. And we've talked about the rail project. We're going to remove about 1 million yards of sand from that lagoon with our contractor. We're going to use that sand as beach replenishment. The idea here is get in, get out once of that resource and minimize the impact. So in closing, we do think, as Jose and Lori said, that we think this is a great example of what we can do when we work together and we plan projects holistically. We actually get more improvements than we really anticipated when we were moving in silos. And you see that commitment in the funding picture for this first project, $270 million project with probably 8 or 9 different fund sources. So we appreciate the Commission's support on this project and moving forward. What I forgot to mention, bad idea. There we go. The red and the yellow, red goes out in 2017. That extends the carpool lane, does another lagoon bridge replacement, and then the final segment in 2018. So we'll continue to work with the Commission on further actions. We appreciate your support of the CSMP and the flexibility of CMGC you've given us in the STIP guidelines to deal with some of the complexities there. So with that, any questions?
Questions?
Well, first of all, I love the corridor approach, and Senator Keogh, thanks for your earlier work on this, so congratulations. So it's on page 5, your Public Works Plan. Who's the lead agency on that? Is it a joint power authority, or how's that coming together, and who's?
As Lori and Jose mentioned, Caltrans and Sandag work very closely together. Caltrans was the author of the document, but it's really a joint partnership document.
Okay, so kind of like the other corridor work you all have done in the past where you have embedded employees. So, okay, thank you.
Very hard to draw the line between our two agencies.
We like that.
May I make a comment? Thank you, Alan, and congratulations on your Assembly resolution saluting your years of service to Caltrans. I heard about that via the local grapevine. First of all, in hindsight, this whole process looks a lot smoother than it was in real time. I guess it gets burnished with age, like all of us, huh? But what I do want to note, and I know Jim Adafro will probably acknowledge this too, now that we look back at this and see what you did working with the stakeholders, combining, what would have been dozens of coastal development permits and multiple intrusions into 5 lagoons. Now we see that under the Public Works umbrella, the project can be looked at truly holistically. It can be environmentally strong, it can be time and cost efficient, it can involve a true community process, which, is not easily done. And it reminds me of the work that the City Council did on the MSCP all those years ago, Jim. We took a multiple species conservation program and did an overarching plan for all of North City, San Diego, or a whole lot of North City, San Diego. And it became a model program for what the state calls the natural communities planning. So you can smooth out all your multiple habitat and animal, the endangered species issues and all that sort of thing. And I just think the state as a whole should look at this process and see where else it could be applied. But congratulations to Sandag and Caltrans and all the communities along the North Coast that really pitched into this conversation.
Bobby.
Jim.
Yeah, I just want to echo what Commissioner Kehoe said, and certainly not that she failed to mention, but Deanna Spain, who was very active in making this happen. Just a couple of comments. This is really how to do CMCG. SB 468 created a model on how really California should look at future projects. And I think that's the important reason it was in front of us today at the Commission. And Malcolm, I think that every district director should see this presentation and should learn from it. And frankly, the resource agencies should sit at the table and learn from it as well. This is a model that blended transportation and resource agencies together. And instead of that piecemeal approach that we're so used to seeing in so many projects, as you heard Alan talk about, this took 80 different permits. That would have been 80 different hearings or 80 different activities, 80 different chances to get opposed, 80 different whatever, and brought them under one roof as one. And to me, because it blended the importance of active transportation, coastal improvements, rail improvements, highway improvements, all under one umbrella, as you see on that slide. And you touch the resource one time instead of multiple times. This, ladies and gentlemen, is how to do projects. And, in the past, transportation funding, you could go to that slide, Alan, where you show that real narrow spot on the lagoon, as you talked about back in 1964 when this road was built or opened. That's just how things were done. Let's get out of there. Let's get that bridge in as small as possible. But today, when you see the finished project, that bridge is so much wider to allow that better flow. And in the past, they'd say, you can't use transportation dollars for that. But because it was a holistic approach, we could. So that it eliminated the typical silo mentality. And I really think congratulations to now Commissioner Kehoe, then Senator Kehoe, for her vision. But I would hope that California would look at this as a model on how to build projects in the future. So much of the stuff that we have to deal with for projects that keep coming back over and over and over again would be eliminated if we could build projects in this manner. Happy to second Commissioner Kehoe's motion to approve it.
Well, that will happen when we get to item 63, which is now.
Yes, Commissioners, item 63 is an action item. This request is to allocate the state-administered Santa Leo HOV and Lagoon Bridge Replacement Project. The allocation includes STIP funds along with TCIF funds, and staff recommends approval.
Happy to make the motion.
Motion by Kehoe, second by Madaffer. Any further questions? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. Okay, now we'll resume with item 96. 97? 70? I missed a whole page? This is why we need babysitters. Item 70, 71, and 72. Item 70, Stephen.
Yes, Commissioners. Item 70 is a request for $4.3 million in additional funds to complete construction of a shop curve correction project on State Route 299. And since there was a request for pictures, I have actually brought a picture of this project. You can actually see how the road was very curvy. They started cutting the slopes, and when they're cutting the slopes, very unusual rains happen, much more than normal, and some of the hillsides started sliding down. So then they had to remove the slide material, and now the contractor has to be compensated, and the cost is the $4.3 million. Staff recommends that you approve the supplemental allocation.
Second.
Motion by Arp, second by Dunn. Any questions? All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? Ayes have it. Item 71.
Thanks for the pictures.
Well, you can see how staff is responsive to commission requests. Okay, commissioners, the following item 71 was revised by the department and is presented as a pink item. This item is a $29 million supplemental funds request for the public-private partnership P3 portion of the Presidio Parkway project. So many Ps. The Presidio Parkway project was built in two phases. Phase 1 was delivered under the standard design bid build process. Phase 2 is being delivered using the innovative P3 delivery method. This $29 million request encompasses department obligations based on added scope of work arising from different site conditions. The Phase 1 portion of the project was not fully completed when the Phase 2 developer submitted his proposal. As Phase 1 was completed, the department initiated changes to Phase 1 that materially affected Phase 2, but were unknown to the Phase 2 developer at the time of his proposal submittal. A sum of $4.7 million is requested to compensate the Phase 2 developer for scope change work he already completed. An additional $24.3 million is requested for scope change work the Phase 2 developer still needs to perform to achieve final project acceptance. Staff will point out that the San Francisco County Transportation Authority contributed $156.3 million towards the original overall $1.08 billion cost of this P3 project, and along with the department was a project co-sponsor. Staff believe that San Francisco should be contributing monetarily to this supplemental request, and that San Francisco should contribute its proportional share to these cost increases from its future STIP. Staff recommends that the Commission allocate $29 million to cover the additional scope arising from the differing site conditions, subject to the cost being approved by FHWA for federal reimbursement at the customary federal-state split. And staff also recommends that a proportional share of the $29 million allocated be charged against San Francisco's county STIP shares. Any questions of anybody?
For the questions, we'll need a motion.
Move staff's recommendation.
Motion by Dunn, second by Madaffer. Any further questions? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. Item 72.
Yes, Commissioners. Item 72 was set up when we had a much bigger ask. These are two shop projects that will not be delivered, and staff recommends that you do deprogram these two shop projects.
Motion by Gilmetti, second by Inman. Any further questions? All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? Ayes have it. You know, I'm looking at the end of the agenda here, and under Highway Financial Matters, all the stuff that we programmed, it's, and then there you use a formula that said total jobs created, 12,913. What I would ask is that as we deprogram these jobs, that we use whatever formula you use, and I'd like to see in writing how many jobs we're costing by not funding transportation. So, and if we could do that to go back to the the last meeting or maybe the meeting before, when we started deprogramming, if you could bring that forward for the next meeting.
We'll do that.
Okay, thank you.
Would that be just direct jobs, Chair, or do you want some indirect multiplier? Because there
The
is.
same formula, direct,
Okay.
indirect, and induced.
Good idea.
Okay, now, we go to 96.
Good morning. Good morning, Commissioners. Tab 96 is an action item for financial allocations for ATP projects. This item is to allocate about $43 million of ATP funds to 45 projects. Staff recommends your approval of this allocation.
Motion by Tavaloni, second by Madaffer. Further questions? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. Item 97.
97 is an action item to allocate $160,000 for an ATP project in Riverside County. Staff recommends your approval of this allocation.
Motion by Tavaloni, second by Gilmetti. Further questions? All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? Ayes have it. Item 98.
98 is an action item to advance financial allocations for ATP projects programmed in 1617. This item is to advance allocate about $8 million of ATP funds to 24 projects. Staff recommends your approval of this advance allocations.
Move it.
Motion by Dunn, second by Tavaloni. Further questions? All in favor, please say aye. Opposed? Ayes have it. Item 99.
Yes, Commissioners, this is an action item. Two agencies have requested STIP allocations of almost $14 million for transit projects, one in Mono County and one in Orange County. Staff recommends your approval of these allocations.
So moved.
Motion by Dunn, second by Inman. Further questions? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. Item 100.
Yes, Commissioners, again, this is an action item. The department is requesting an allocation of a little over $2 million. This is in federal competitive funds for the Pacific Surfliner Chesterfield Drive Crossing Improvement Project, related to an earlier consent item that we saw yesterday. Staff recommends your approval of this allocation.
Motion by Madaffer, second by Tavaloni. Further questions? All in favor, please say aye. Opposed? Ayes have it. Item 101.
Yes, Commissioners, again, action item. This is a request for an allocation from Transit and Intercity Rail Capital Program. This is the Cap and Trade Program. For the LA County MTA is requesting this allocation of almost $38.5 million for the Willowbrook, Rosa Park Station, and Blue Line Light Rail Operational Improvements Project. Staff recommends your approval of this allocation.
Motion by Burke, second by Inman. Further questions? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. And not only was that in Yvonne's district, that was Laurel's final item before the CTC, before her retirement. Congratulations.
Well, did I see you almost do a moonwalk there?
Okay. Item 102. You still have to stay to the end of the meeting, by the way. Item 102, Teresa.
Item 102 is an action item. These are time extension requests to extend the period of project allocation for 63 projects in Cycle 1 of the ATP program. This month is the deadline for the last cycle, this month is the deadline for the last year of Cycle 1, thus the number of time extensions we are seeing today. Commission staff, along with Caltrans, reviewed each request to understand the delays and merits of the time requested. Staff also contacted many of the agencies to get clarification of the circumstances for requiring additional time. We also consulted with our staff engineer in order to understand the project delivery challenges these agencies encountered and better determine a reasonably aggressive schedule. Staff prepared a summary showing the number of months the agency requested, the number of months Caltrans is recommending, and the number of months staff recommends. A Approximately a quarter of the projects on the list have received a time extension in prior components. This has created a cascading effect on other components. Majority of the time extensions are due to unexpected environmental issues, followed by challenges clearing right-of-way, followed by design delays. The biggest challenge, however, has been the short duration for the Cycle 1 program. The time was so compressed that many agencies did not have any wiggle room for unforeseen delays. If requested, Lori can go over changes to the program that have been or will be implemented that will address many of the issues we see with timely use of funds. Also, Ray Zhang from Caltrans Division of Local Assistance is available to go over what local assistance is doing to assist the agencies in project delivery. In addition, staff requested that agencies requesting a time extension be at this meeting in the event you have questions regarding specific projects. Staff recommends approval of the time extensions as shown in the summary spreadsheet with the following change. For Project 39, the City of Ontario requested 9 months. Staff recommended 6 months. After just receiving additional clarification from the agency and in consultation with Caltrans, staff is recommending the 9 months. With that change, staff recommends your approval.
Motion by Taglioni, second by Madaffer. We have a speaker, Elaine Jang.
Good morning, Commissioners. My name's Elaine Jang. I'm the Public Works and Utilities Director for the City of El Monte, which is located approximately about 10 miles east of downtown Los Angeles. I'm here on behalf of the school district, El Monte City School District, who was awarded a ATP Cycle 1 project for the Durfee Thompson Elementary Emerald Necklace Walking School Bus. It's a non-infrastructure project, project PPNO 4918. This project is not recommended for time extension as part of staff's recommendation, and I'm here on behalf of the school district to make an appeal. The school district applied for the grant, and it was awarded about $604 for a 2-year program. The program's aimed at putting together a pilot program for walking school bus, educating parents, students, staff, city staff on the safety of making sure children walk to school. Part of that is because El Monte has the highest obesity rate in our youth. The school district could not implement the project because they don't have a master agreement with Caltrans. So since being awarded the project, they've been working with Caltrans. In about February or March of this year, Caltrans returned their audit findings to the school district, which required the school district to make some changes. And that's when they reached out to the city for help and said, could you take on this project so that we wouldn't lose the funding, and appeal to the CTC commissioners for a change of applicant and grantors and have the city use their master agreement to help the school district implement the project. So I'm here this morning to make an appeal for reconsideration of staff's recommendation to include this project as one of the projects that you can extend the time to implement. Thanks very much.
Thank you.
Which project is this? Did you request an allocation, an extension request through Caltrans? Because
Yes.
I don't see an El Monte time extension here, so I am asking Caltrans to see if your project is not listed on our list, right?
It is not, no, not on the recommended list.
It's not on the list at all. So when did you request a time extension on this project?
April, late April, we have submitted our request through District 7 as well as Metro.
Commissioners, I would suggest that staff works with the speaker on this issue along with Caltrans, and we'll bring this back at a future meeting.
Thanks very much. Thank you.
Sure.
So we're not accepting or denying her request.
Right, they're going to go to work
It wasn't
on that.
it's not on our list.
Right. Could I have a
Thank you. Is this for an additional 3 months? Is that it?
No, her project is not on our list at all.
At all?
Yes.
The issue is, it appears that the paperwork was not received by Caltrans and brought forward to this commission meeting, so it is not an item that is before you to take an action on today. It was not noticed, and so we will need to work with the project sponsor in Caltrans and look at what happened, what occurred here. Malcolm?
So I agree with all of the conversation so far. Is there a timing issue about the time extension that has to be addressed today because of the end of the fiscal year?
Well, if it's an error from the department, we can surely bring it forward at the August commission meeting, if that's the pleasure of the commission.
So this is all other projects except for her project?
So they would not be penalized if it's paperwork? Because I know we have had challenges with this first round in terms of some non-traditional partners for Caltrans, and it did take us a little bit longer, so...
We will, yes, we will bring it forward in August, if that's your pleasure, and we will work with Caltrans to find out what exactly happened, and we will have it in the agenda at the August meeting.
But there won't be a penalty?
If we find that there was an error and that this request did not make it, it should have made it to Caltrans and it was misplaced, or, we need to look into that. If it is that this agency did not actually seek a time extension, then that would be a different issue. We would not bring this back under our guidelines, but in the case of, what this presenter is saying is that she did submit a request. If she did and it was misplaced, we'll bring it back to you in August for action.
Right.
Well, it sounds like there's maybe been passing the ball a little bit in terms of the school district needing some help and reaching out to the cities. So I would encourage us to work together and see if we can find a good solution.
Okay, on the original motion, there's a motion and a second. Any other questions? All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? Ayes have it. Item 103.
That's mine. I was... Okay.
It's you again.
It's me again. Item 103, these are time extension requests to extend the period of allocation for 92 SHOP projects. Staff prepared a summary also showing the number of months Caltrans is requesting and the number of months staff is recommending. This item has 2 attachments. I will start with attachment number 2. This attachment has 78 projects that were delivered by the June deadline. However, they were late to be added to the June agenda. They only need a 2-month time extension, and they will be seeking an allocation in August. Under attachment 1, these are 14 projects that are requesting a longer time frame to deliver. For projects 1 and 4, Caltrans has requested a 20-month time extension, and staff is recommending 0 months due to not having a cooperative agreement with MTC. However, we have just learned of additional information on these 2 projects, and the department is here to share that with us.
Yes, hi. This is Bruce Daytero with Caltrans. We received a word from the district that the cooperative agreement between MTC and the department was signed the middle of last week, and that agreement has a time constraint on it in 2018, such that we need to be expending the funds. So removing the project from the program or not extending it by 20 months would mean that we would not meet the requirements of the co-op agreement in terms of the use of the MTC contribution to the project. We've been working for quite a long time with MTC to get the cooperative agreement signed. It was signed last week, and we're not able to convey that information to commission staff until this week. Yesterday, actually, is when I believe that you learned of this for the first time, that we had the cooperative agreement signed. So there wasn't time to initiate a PINC to replace the item to ask the extension. And the district is asking for a 20-month extension for both projects in order to keep them viable.
Given that additional information, staff recommends 20 months on those 2 projects. And with that, staff recommends you approve the staff recommendations as reflected on the summary spreadsheet.
Motion by Gilmetti, second by Taglioni. Further questions? All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? Ayes have it. Item 104.
Commissioners, agenda items 104 through 111 are time extensions, are more time extensions. Item 104 is a time extension a time extension request for allocation for a STIP project on the state highway system. Well, before that, do you want me to take all 104 to 111 together or individually?
You okay with that?
Sure.
Okay. So 104 is a request to extend allocation for a STIP project in the state highway system. Items 105 through 108 are contract award time extensions for one locally administered STIP project, two locally administered aeronautics projects, one locally administered Proposition 1B intercity rail project, and one shop project. Item 109 is a project completion time extension for a locally administered STIP project. Items 110 through 111 are project expenditure time extensions for one locally administered STIP project and one shop project. Staff recommends you approve the time extensions for items 104 through 111 as reflected on the spreadsheet.
So moved. Motion by Arp, second by Taglioni. Further questions? All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed?
Okay.
The ayes have it.
Commissioners, before you adjourn, I'd like to make a clarification. I was just told that this particular project was allocated, and it is good, so there was no need for a time extension.
Are you referring to
The project,
We already gave him the time.
Take extra time.
yes, the time that she thought she was not getting a time extension from the city of El Monte. No, it's not going to, because she did receive an allocation, so she did not need a time extension. No.
Yeah, she put in both requests, and she was able to come in for the allocation, so we just brought forward the allocation. So she's fine.
Okay.
So everybody's happy? I see a bunch of smiles. Very good. Anything else come before the commission? And we'll stand adjourned. Very good.